In this video today, we'll be going through a full data analysis project, and this will cover three essential parts. One is data cleaning. Number two will be data analysis. And number three will be data visualization. Our class today will be a continuation of our previous class, which was the pivot table. We're going to take some practical approach to understanding or having a deeper understanding of how the pivot engine works. So I'd like you to listen. At any point you feel like rewinding the video, you can, so you can be able to pick the details of what we are talking about. Now, to make this video real as we want it to be, or to make it as real as possible, we'll be using a data set of the richest people in the world, which you can download in the description section of this video. And to look at this, I will share my screen now, and we'll look at the data set. First of all, we're going to have a holistic look at the data set. Like I told you before now, the first thing you do before any analysis is to take a good look at the data set you're working with. Become familiar with it, and then you should be able to know what is required of you. So let's move into the classroom now. Okay, now this is my desktop, and I have a data set in this folder, billionaire data sets. I double click and I have the data set in Excel, the billionaire statistics data set. I double click to open the data set now. And you can now look at the data sets with the following columns. You see the rank. These are the millionaires, the top ranking millionaires. You have category, you have their personal name, you have their countries, you have their city, you have the source, you have their industries. You have a column that shows whether they are self-made or not. You have a column for gender, and we have a column for last name, we have a column for first name, and if you continue to scroll down, you will see more. You have final words, the birth year, the birth month, you have the birthday, and the rest of them. You have the GDP country, and the rest of them down to this point. Now, before we begin to perform any data cleaning, because the first thing we're going to do is to perform data cleaning. Like I told you, don't just begin any analysis with the data set given to you without having a holistic look to make sure that the data set is well structured. Now, if you look at this data set, there is a need for us to perform some data cleaning on it. So before we go ahead to do that, I will recommend that you duplicate this data into a new sheet. You look at this, we have only one sheet here that shows the data. I want to make a duplicate of this data set so that if peradventure I have a reason to return back to it again, at least I will have the raw data to fall back to if there's any mistake that will warrant my falling back to the raw data. So to duplicate this data, I right-click on the sheet tab. I will now select move or copy. If I click on move or copy, I will now check this create a copy. And remember, it will ask me where do I want to create the copy to. Assuming I want to create a copy of this dataset to in a new Excel workbook, I will have to click on this arrow here and I will select new book. But because I want to duplicate it in the same book I'm using, I will select the billionaire statistics data set raw because that is the file I'm working with. But don't forget that you have to check the create a copy so that it will not just move it, but it will create a new copy for you. So when I click OK, I will notice that copy 2 has been created. You take a look at this, you see that copy 2, data 2 has been created. So what I do is I will right click on the data 2 and rename it. And what do I rename it as? I want to rename it as my data set, which is, and I hit enter. So that is the one I'm working with. So the raw data will be this. I can decide to come to this data and I rename it. I right click on the sheet tab and go to rename, and I can rename it as raw data. So I can have a good, I hit enter. So I can have a good way of differentiating between the both of them. I believe that's clear enough to us. I hope we're following, and I think this is very much pretty simple to understand. At the course of this class, we will not only end up handling the project. There are several other features in Excel that we will bring in. I'm going to use this project to bring in so many Excel functions that will be useful for us at this level. So I'd like you to listen very well as we move on. Now, before we begin to work on this data set, the first thing we will want to look at is to find out if this data set has duplicate values. Now, when you are performing data analysis in any platform, make sure that the data sets given to you do not contain duplicate values. So to do that, first of all, we go to the data tab, look at the data tab. From the data tools, you will see a function there, remove duplicates. You click on remove duplicates and the dialog box will appear. Then you click on OK. And once you click on OK, you will notice that 6 duplicates values found and removed. 475 unique value remain. And that is all. Having done this, you have taken care of the duplicate values. We will now go ahead and perform some more data cleaning. Now, if you look at the gender, look at the gender column now, you can see that this gender column, you have M, F, F. M represents male, F is for female. Now, in our analysis and in our visualization, this M and F will make no meaning. Somebody looking at M might not really know what it stands for. So it becomes important that we will have to change every M to male and every F to female. And to do that, first of all, I'd like us to look at something there now. And that is, if I click on the header, and hold my Control and Shift key, with a down arrow, it takes me to the end of the data set. Let me repeat this again. If I'm at this point, if you look at this, you notice that at the end of the data set, we have 476 being the last row. And if I want to scroll up to the first row, ordinarily somebody will begin to scroll up gradually. But the best way to scroll up very fast is to click on any cell, then hold down the control key and tap the up arrow key. On your keyboard, you will see the 4 arrow keys, one pointing up, one pointing down, one pointing to the left, and one pointing to the right. If you click on any cell, like I've clicked on cell G1 now, if I hold down the control key and I tap the left arrow key, it takes me to the extreme left. If I hold down the control key and tap the right arrow key, it takes me to the extreme right, where the data ended. If I hold down the control key now and I tap the down arrow key, it takes me down to the last part where the data ended. And these are some vital things that you need to recognize as we walk and move on. I believe this is making a lot of sense to us as we continue. Back to the gender column, we want to change every M to male and every F to female. To do this, click on the first M, hold down the control and the shift key, and tap the down arrow. That will highlight the whole of the column. Then, if you want to use the shortcut, you can press Ctrl H, Ctrl H, Ctrl plus H will bring out the Find and Replace dialog box. But if you want to use another method, you can click on the Home tab, and from the editing group here, you will see the Find and Select. Click on it and go ahead and click on Find. That will also give you the same Find and Replace dialog box. You have the Find tab, you have the Replace tab. So when you click on the Find tab, you will notice Find What. If you click on the Replace tab, you will notice Find What and Replace What. Now in this case, we want to find all the M's, and replace them with male. So find what? I type M, capital M, then replace with what? I will say replace with male. And once I click on replace all, you will notice that all the male, all the M will be replaced with male. You click OK. Go back again, type F, and tell it to replace with female. Then click replace all, and that will replace it. So what we've ended up doing is you can click close. You can now see that all the male has been replaced and all the female has also been replaced too. That's quite amazing. Then the next thing we might need to do is just to get familiar with our data set the more. I can decide to insert a filter in this data set. I click on the first cell first header. I click on my first header, hold down my control and my shift because I want to highlight them. And if I highlight it, I click on data, then I go to filter because I want to give a filter to all the headers. If I click on filter, now you notice the filter appears. Now, this filter helps you to find out things like, if you look at this self-made, so it's assumed that is either false or true. If you click on this arrow, you will know how many categorical data that are in the column. You can see male, you can see, false and true. Click OK. Then, if you go to gender, if you click on the filter button, it gives you female and male. Now, this filter button will help you, assuming I want to filter out only female and leave male. Maybe my analysis is based only on female. So I just want to get rid of the male data, but I don't want to delete it outrightly from the data set. What I do is I simply come to the filter button, then go to the check box beside, I go to the filter button beside gender, go to the check box beside male, uncheck it. And once I uncheck it and click OK, you will notice that all the column, all the row for male has been filtered out. And if I scroll down, you will not see, I see only female. I can do the same with male by clicking on the filter button, check male and uncheck female, then click OK. You will notice that a similar thing happens with male also. If I want to view only those that are self-made, I want to print out only those that are self-made. I simply come to the header, self-made. This is called header. You click on the filter button, you now go and uncheck false. It means now that these are the only self-made millionaires. So we have the self-made millionaires. Let's now view those that are not self-made. Notice that whenever you filter, the icon changes. Whenever you filter, this arrow changes to a funnel. You can see, let me zoom it so you can see that this arrow here changes to a filter. Look at it, it's an arrow here, but it's here a filter. That shows that a filter has been carried out. If I want to remove the filter, I click on the filter, on the funnel, and check the false and click OK, it will be replaced. Now, what about if I want to know the millionaires that are self-made amongst the men? The millionaires that are self-made among the men, what I will simply do is I will filter the men only. So I have to remove the female and I have the men. And I want to know the millionaires that are self-made. So I have to click on self-made and remove false. So if I click OK now, all I have now are millionaires that are self-made. So you can see that are male. Millionaires that are self-made that are male. So that's quite amazing. That's exactly how powerful the filter button can be. I may decide to now remove the filters. I click OK, and I go to self-made also on check default. And if I want to remove the filter button, I simply go to filter back again, click on the filter, and the filter button goes out. So remember, to add the filter button, you click on filter. To remove it, click on filter also. When I wanted to add it, I highlighted the first row. But alternatively, you can choose it. Go ahead and click on your filter button, because by default, Excel believes that the first row is always the header. That is the normal default setting of Excel. It always believes that the first header is always the first row. So once you click on filter, it goes out, you click on filter again, it comes in. So that is how to apply your filter. That's how to apply your filter. I hope that is very simple. Now, looking at this data sets also, you will see 3 columns, which is the birth year, the birth month, and the birthday. The birth year, the birth month, and the birthday. Now, from these 3 columns, we may decide to create a column for the birthday, the complete birthday. Assuming we want to create a column for complete birthday, that is, assuming for this person, we want to be able to create a complete birthday. What we'll now end up doing is possibly, I want to create a column birthday or date of birth. Let's call it date of birth. Date of birth. But notice that what we have is the year, the month, and the birthday, the day actually. But I want to know the date of birth, the complete date of birth. So we can do that using the date function. The date function. When I type equal to dates and I open a bracket, now what is required is for me to provide the year, the month, and the day. So we have the year to be this. I can click on it or I type M2. Look at M2. I will separate it with a comma. Then the next one is the birth month, the month, which is the 3rd month, birth month 3. Either I type N2 or I click on it. I will separate it with a comma. Then I have the birthday. The birthday. Either I type O2 or I click on it. And when I'm done with that, I will simply close the bracket and hit enter. You will notice that we have 3/5/1949. That becomes the actual date of birth. Now, looking at this, you will see that Excel placed 3, which is month, first, before the day, which is 5th. That is exactly how Excel arranges date of birth. Excel places, by default, Excel places months before the day. So take note of that. Except places month before the day. For instance, if today is 1st of October 1960, if I want to type 1st of October 1960, look at how I will type it. If it's 1st of October, which means October is the 10th month, I will now put 10 stroke 1 stroke 1960. So month, day, year, and I hit enter. That is how to input dates in Excel. You put the month first, then you put the day, and you put the year. So that's exactly what played out here. So I haven't gotten the date of birth for one person. You can use the autofill handle to drag, but you will notice that as you begin to drag it, you will drag it down to 400 and something rows. So the best thing to do is you double click on this broken rectangle, double click on it, and automatically you will have the rest of the years filled. That is very, very important. Let me repeat this again. I'll click on this and hit delete. The column goes. I want to create a column for date of birth, and I will type date of birth. And I will get this date of birth from this column, from these three columns: birth year, birth month, and birthday. And that is made possible using the date function in Excel. The date function in Excel. The date function is used in inserting dates. So I type equal to dates, and I open a bracket. Then once I open the bracket, when you are working in Excel, you will notice that once you type in the function name and open a bracket, IntelliSense appears. You do not need to cram the functions. All you need to do is to remember the function name. And once you remember the function name, after typing equal to and you put the function name, open a bracket. IntelliSense will give you an idea of the attributes required. So from the date function here, three attributes or three arguments. So you can call it attributes or you call it arguments. Three arguments are required, and they are the year, the month, and the day. And the IntelliSense will give it to you in the order and also all you need. So you can see it: year separated by a comma, month separated by a comma, and bracket close. So year separated by a comma, month separated by a comma, and day separated close by bracket close. You hit enter, it will give you the birth year. I double click on this rectangle here, and it will fill in the rest. That's quite amazing. Now, the next thing we will do is, assuming I want to place a column. I want to place a column between population, country, and date of birth. And that column will be today's date. What do I do? What I will simply do, if I want to place a column before this column, I will come to that column. I want to place a column before it, right click on it, and choose insert. And automatically a column will be inserted between these two. And I want to call this column current dates. Current dates. The reason why I want to create a current date is because I want to eventually know their age I want to have a column called age. So if I must get a column called age, then I should be able to subtract their date of birth from the current date. And this is very important. Now, as at the day I'm recording this video, today's date is 28th of September. And ordinarily, somebody might think the best way to put it is to say September is the 9th month. So I say 9 stroke 28 stroke 2024. That is today's date. If I use this, I will get the correct answer for today. But after today, the age will change, but the age will change in the real sense of it, but Excel own will not change. So that is why using this method is wrong. I can use this method to get the accurate answer now, but after today, the result will become wrong. So the best thing you do is to make use of an Excel function called equal to today. Equal to today. And you open and close the bracket. This function, when you make use of it, will give you the exact date of today, depending on the system date. As long as your computer date is correct, once the date changes tomorrow and your computer date changes tomorrow, this date automatically changes also, which means that as days go, this column will keep on updating. And as long as it keeps on updating, whatever result you used it to get in age will keep on updating. So let's hit the enter. You see it has given me the actual date of today. I will now click on this insertion point to get the rest of them. Now, since it is this way now, by tomorrow, if you check, once my system date changes, this particular column will also change. And that is the beauty of it. So you look at it. If you click on any of these results and go to the formula bar, you will notice we have equal to today, bracket opens and bracket closes. That is how to return today's date in a way that it can be updating. I believe that is clear. So having understood that, we will now want to go to age. We want to know their individual ages. Since somebody was born at this age, at this date, so how old is he as at today? We're going to get that using an Excel function called the year frac. Year frac. We say equal to year frac. And you open the bracket. Year frac will give us the difference between these two dates based on 365 days. Listen, I said that year frac is an Excel function that will give us the difference between two dates based on 365 days. Based on 365 days. So when you open year frac, the intelligence will tell you the first argument there is the start date. And what is the start date? Today's date. Either I say V2 or I click on the value. I put comma. The end date. Either I say W2 or I click on it. I will put comma. As soon as I put comma, I will see some options here. I will select actual. You have actual 360, you have actual 365. So I want to select actual, take the first option, then once I select, I double click on it, I will now close the bracket and I hit enter. That will give me the actual age. So you can see the actual age. This man is 75.5 something years. That is to say that he's a little above 75 years. So that option I chose, actual, gave me the actual age of the man. What about if you had chosen other options? You can try them out and find out what it will give to you. Now I double click the autofill handle and it will give me the age of the rest of them. So you can now see that we've added, first of all, date of birth, and from the date of birth, we have been able to derive the age given the current dates. This is data transformation. And we've been able to bring in some key Excel functions into it. That is quite amazing. And I would like us to continue. Now, we will look at another feature in Excel called sorting. Now, let's look at how to sort our data sets. Sorting is actually arranging your data so as to make it easy to find. At times, you might need to arrange your data in a particular order to enable finding very easy. If you look at this data set, it is arranged in a particular order. You look at this column, rank. It started from 1, 2, 3, 4, which means that it is sorted by rank. What if I want to sort this data set in such a way that finding their names, their first names or their last names can be easy? What I will simply do is I will sort by either the first name or the last name. And how do I do that? Very simple. If I want to sort by last name, I will simply click on that column. I'll click on any cell on that column I want to sort by. Example, I want to sort by last name. So I can click on any of the rows, any of the cells. Instead, any of the cells on the column I want to sort by, which is last name. Then I will click on my data tab. If I click on data tab, I will see a group called sort and filter. Inside the sort and filter, I will see the sort commands there. And I can choose to select sort A to Z. And once I click on it, I will notice that my last name has been sorted A to Z. If I do the same for last name, for first name, I will choose A to Z. You will notice that my data set has been sorted based on the first name. I can choose to sort based on gender. I click on any cell under gender and I click A to Z. It will sort. You can see female will come first before male. The same thing plays out also if I want to sort by last name, but this time around Z to A. You will see that Z will come first. So that is how to sort by ordinarily. Now, there's another type of sorting that we call the multi-level sorting. Look at this rank now. Let me sort by rank now. You can see that rank is numbers. If I'm sorting by rank, I click on this. You will notice that if I choose A to Z, it will mean 1 to the end. If I choose Z to E, it will mean the last one to the first. So let's choose A to Z to return it back to how it was before now. Now we can perform multi-level sort. Now, whenever you want to perform a multi-level sort, then the first option must be a categorical data. Example, I want to sort by gender and then by last name. If you look at gender, you know that gender is a categorical data comprising of male and female. Self-made is a categorical data comprising of false and true. So when data is categorized, you refer to it as a categorical data. Now I want to sort by gender and by last name. So what I want to do, what I will do is I click into any cell in the data sets. Then I go to the data tab. This time around, I will choose this sort option here. And the dialog box will appear. First, you will see sort by. And you will notice add level, delete level, copy level. I want to sort by. My first level of sorting will be by gender. So I will say sort by gender. I will look for gender. Look at gender here. Then I will sort from A to Z. Then because I want to sort, it's going to be multi-level sorting. Multi-level sorting refers to 2 levels of sorting. So I have to click on add level to get the second level. Then I can now say them by first name or by last name, A to Z. Now, if I click OK, you will notice that first, it will sort by gender, after which it will now sort by last name. Look at it. It will sort by gender, after which it sorts by last name. So if you look at the gender, female, 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 you will notice that among the female category, their last names are also sorted in alphabetical order. And by the time you get to the last female, you notice that male begins. So the last female, you have Z ending the last name. Then the first female, you have A beginning the first last name. That's to show you that after arranging the first column, that's the first level column from A to Z, it now also arranges the second one, A to Z too. Now, you can decide to click on any cell, go to data, then come to sort and view the way it was sorted. And this time around, I want to sort by self-made and first name. So I will remove these levels of sorting. I will now say I will now delete this level and delete this level too. Then I can add a new level and decide to choose self-made. I look for self-made. You search for it closely. Self-made. Or you can just look at it here. And so self-made and You can now add another level. Then you can now make this by first name over last name. So self-made from smallest to the largest, and first name A to Z. And when you click on that, and you will see that obviously it will arrange self-made first, then last, and then first name A to Z. So you can see that's the simple way to sort. You have a single sorting and you have a multi-level sorting. That's the simple way you can sort your data sets. Now it is time to begin our analysis. That's the section 2 of our project, the data analysis section. I always advise that as you begin your analysis, you start with what we call descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics is actually a way of having a holistic understanding, a good summary of the data set that you're working with. It gives you a fast and a quick understanding of the data set that you are working with. It might not appear in your dashboard, but it will give you an idea of how to create your dashboard faster. So to perform a descriptive analysis on this data, I will want to concentrate more on the following columns. Self-worth, from self-worth down to possibly down to I have tax, total tax, or population country. But because I want to include age, I want to include age there, and I do not want to include date of birth, current dates, and current dates. But I want to include only dates. So what I may do is I click on the column letter, then click on this age and hold it down to drag it. I want to drop it somewhere here. And before I drop it, I might need to hold down my shift key. Take note, I want to drop it at this point. So I hold down my shift key and I release my hand. You can see it moved it down. Let me repeat this again. Control Z, I undo. I want to move this column, this age column. I want to bring it after population country. I want to bring it after population country. So I want to move it 2 steps behind. So what I simply do is I click on the column letter to highlight the entire column. Then point on the column line, click on it and hold down my shift key as I drag it. Hold down my shift key as I drag it. And I get to where I want to drop it. I release it and it drops there. So I now want to perform a descriptive statistics of the following columns from final worth down to age. That's what I want to do. Down to age. Let me reduce this a little bit so you can see for here. I don't have interest in all this. The reason is because these are actually the value data columns. So What I need to do now is I click on the data tab. At the extreme left, you will see under analysis, you will see data analysis. You click on the data analysis and it will bring out some statistical tools that can be used for analysis. You can see ANOVA, you can see correlation, you can see descriptive statistics. So what I want to do is I want to perform descriptive statistics on the following columns I showed you. So I select descriptive statistics, then click OK. A dialog box appears and you can see input range. Input range refers to those columns I want to get involved in the descriptive statistics. And as the cursor is blinking inside here, I will quickly go and highlight them. Look at it from this. I click on this self-word, hold down my Control and Shift, or if I click on here, I highlight it to the edge where I want it to be, then hold down my Shift and Control key and punch my down arrow key to be able to capture that range. You can see the range captured. Let me repeat it again for double emphasis. I delete this. What I will simply do is let me scroll down first. Okay, I delete this. Then I want to highlight from self-word. I will use my mouse first to highlight down to this point because I don't want to get to this place. Then I will hold down my Shift and Control key and press the down arrow key, and that will capture the whole data within that environment. Then the next will be to select the labels in first row. If I check this, I will leave under the output options, I will leave new worksheets so that it will run the descriptive analysis and put it in a worksheet for me. Look at this. Remember, we have two worksheets so that when another one adds up, you will know. Then I will go to summary statistics because I want it to give me summary statistics. So these are all I need. I'll go ahead and click OK. And once I click OK, the script as input contains non-numeric value. Let's look at what it's talking about. Okay, we have this. We have summary statistics, and it's saying that it contains non-numeric value. Let's verify again our selection. Let's verify. We have this. Okay, if you look at this column now, you will notice that this column, you click on this column, if you click on any cell here, and you go to home, you will notice that the data type is custom. What we will do in this case is click on the first cell, hold the Control and Shift to highlight the whole column, and then we come to this number group. Click on this arrow, go to more number format, select, we can select number, and when we select number, then we reduce it to 0 decimal place, and we say use 1000 separator. And once we do that and click OK, you will notice that this automatically changes to a number. So the format becomes a number format. If we want to proceed now. So let's go ahead and check and see if that has been corrected. We will eventually go to our data, then we go to analysis, and we'll select descriptive statistics, click OK, and we'll check from self-worth, highlight down to age, hold down the shift control and down arrow, then select the following things and click OK. It's still saying input range contains non-numeric data, which means it can work with non-numeric data. So let's take a look at this again. Possibly we'll be able to correct the error from here. We'll look at this and we'll select this column. We will now move down and let's try to remove the commas here. Let's remove the commas first. So we'll do Control H. So we search for comma and replace with nothing. So let's tell it to replace all. And click OK. Then close. I think you can now see that the data set the shape has changed. So that's a part of data cleaning. As you work, your data, the results you get, you troubleshoot to find out where the error can be. So you can now see that the data set has been normalized now, and this column, the data has been well arranged. And if you click on any of them and click on home, you will see that it's dwelling in the number format. So this time around, let's go ahead, click on data, go to analysis, and select descriptive, click OK, and then we can go ahead and click OK now, and you see that it has performed the analysis. So what did you notice there? You notice that a new sheet has been added showing the descriptive analysis of numeric data. If you look at the data we are working with, if the data set is not numeric, it will not perform the descriptive statistics. Remember, the problem we had was that the particular data set we were using had an issue with it. And now you can see that we've been able to correct that. How you can see the descriptive statistics. That's more of a summary of what the data is. You can see self-worth, you see the mean value, you see the standard error, see the median value, see the mode, the standard deviation, and the rest of them. You can now scroll down. Assuming I want to know the maximum and the minimum age, I can highlight maximum and minimum, then scroll down to age section, age column. So can you see that the maximum, you can see the maximum and the minimum age here. You can see that now. Minimum age is 32, a little above 32 years. Then the maximum age is a little above 98 years. So it's very easy. It gave a quick summary. Actually, descriptive statistics gives us a quick description of what the data set you're working with is. So that's all about that. Now we're going to move into the more advanced analysis using the pivot table. That's exactly where we are going to. And that is where we will stop in this lecture and we'll continue in our next class. Let's look at how we can use the pivot table on this data set. Now, if you click on Insert, you will see the pivot table. Now, assuming we want to carry out an analysis to show the 10 richest persons, who are the first 10 richest persons based on, you can base it on, let's look at the factor and final what. Look at final what. Final what. We want to know the 10 richest persons based on final what. We do that using the pivot table. We click on the pivot, click on any of the cells, then we'll click on pivot table, then the dialog box appears. We'll click on OK. Now the pivot table opens for us. And remember, a new sheet for pivot table, which is the pivot sheet, appears. So, since we want to know the 10 richest person, we'll click on person name. Look at the person name. We'll check this. And once we click on the person name, you will notice that the whole of their names will be lined up here. The pivot sheet will be populated with their names. Then I scroll down to their what? Their final what? I scroll down to their final what. I have to search for their final what. Where is it? Look at the final what here. I click on the, check the box beside it automatically. Now, notice that when I checked the person name, it entered into row. And when I checked the final what, it entered into value. The reason is because by default, anything name alphabet is designed to enter into the row, while anything number that is a value that can be used in calculation is designed to enter into value. So you can now see a table simply showing their names and the sum of what. Then, because I am looking for the 10 richest, what I will end up doing is I come to this pivot table. If I right click on any of the cells among the row label here, right click on any of them, I can simply go down to filter, and I will say filter the top 10. I can choose filter the top 10. Take note that you can choose to filter the top 5 by changing the value here. But by default, it filters the top 10, but you can customize it. So you can also customize it to the bottom 10. It depends on what you're looking for. You can choose to explore the rest. So I'm looking for the top 10 based on the sum of what? Based on the sum of what? And once I click OK, you will see the top 10. So all I need to do is to edit this row and call it names, and edit this one and call it final what. And you can now see okay, well, final word is because there's already a final word there. You can just add something to it. You can add something to it, or you can just call it. You can say the value. Value. That's okay. So yeah, this is the name. This is the value of the final words. Their names, value of the final word, and this is the top 10. And you can see that Bill Gates made the top 10. Elon Musk made the top 10, and Warren Buffett, these are popular guys we know, they made the top 10. Okay, so I may choose to arrange this top 10 in a particular order. You look at it, it's not in a particular order. Let me arrange it from top to bottom, from highest to the smallest. And I come to this value, right click on it, I look for sort. I can now sort from largest to smallest, and it will just arrange it for me. So from what I can see now, you can now see that we have the top 10 arranged in order of the highest to the lowest. So the numbers, one is Bernard and family. And number 2 is Elon Musk and the rest of them. So that's quite amazing. That's quite amazing. Okay, let's answer some other questions too. Many questions can come out of this. Now, one thing about the pivot table is not the pivot in itself. It's about knowing what to drag and where to drag it to. Now, let's answer more questions. To be able to get to answer another question, if I'm to answer that question on the same sheet, then what I will do is to highlight this pivot table, press Ctrl C to copy it, and move 2 steps down and press Ctrl V to paste it. And when I paste it on this second one now, I highlight the second one. I come to the field side, the pivot table field. I simply drag and drop this out to remove it, or I click on the arrow here and select remove field. And when the field is removed, I will see the pivot table present here. Then I can answer another question. I may decide to know the total self-worth based on city. If I click on city now, it will give me the distinct city. I may now have to go to the self-worth. I may go to self-worth and look for not final worth instead. When I check it, it will give me the sum for every city. So you can now know the total self-worth for every city. What about if it doesn't make much sense to me? I can click on this arrow and remove the field, and I may choose to work on category, or possibly countries. Or let me use category. I can choose category, so you can see it categorizes it. You can see each category. For automotive, the total self-worth is this. From construction and engineering, that self-worth is this. So you can now be able to see for each of the categories, you see the sum. Take note of the fact that whenever you may choose not to click on the final words, you may, let me remove it from here. What I may need to do is to click here and hold and drag it down to value. That's another alternative way of doing it. But when you drag it down to value, you will realize that what Excel does is to sum. So the default value will be sum. What if I want to know the average? I can click on this arrow and possibly go to field value setting to see other aggregations. So I can count, I can get average, I can get the maximum, I can get the minimum. So sum is usually the default value. Assuming I want to count, I can click on count. And once I click OK, it will end up telling me that in automotive we have 16 persons. In construction and engineering, you have 4 persons. So it has counted for me. Now, I now know how many people in each category, how many persons in each category, because it counted each row for me. What about, I want to know the average value. I will come to this arrow, go to value field settings, and I'll select average. And I'll know the average value for each category. So what I might end up doing is to edit it by edit the headers to suit what I want, and that is all this. Now the next thing we're going to do is this. I know what the next thing we want to do is to get the number of billionaires by age. Let's analyze the number of billionaires by age. To achieve that is very simple. Since I want to still do it on this particular sheet, I will copy this again, highlight this, Control C to copy, and I can click anywhere, Control V to paste. But I would have preferred to paste it underneath, so Control Z, let me go there, let me put it here. Control V to paste here. And click on this particular one. And when I click on any of the cells in this second one, I will come and drag this out to empty this pivot table. And now I've emptied it. I want to count the number of billionaires by age. So what do? It's very simple. I will drag age to row and drag age to value. Just watch what will happen. I will go to age. I will look for age. This is age. I will drag this age to row. And it will give me their different ages. I will also drag this age to value to still give me the same thing. I will now come to the age I drag to value and go to value field setting and choose count. By so doing, it will count it for me, telling me that billionaires within 32 years is 1, within 34 years is 1, and you notice that is 111 each. that might not make so much sense for us. Looking at it, what we will do is we will have to group the age by saying billionaires between this age and this age, how many are they? Billionaires between this age and this age, how many are they? And looking at our descriptive analysis, going to age, remember that if you look at age, the minimum age is 32.3, which is 32, approximately. The maximum age is 98, which is 98.2 something, which is 98. So you can see that the age is between the range of 32 and 98. Looking at that, that will help us in our analysis here. So we will group the age between 30 to 40, between 40 to 50, between 50 to 60, between 60 to 70, and then between 70 to 80. So we're going to be giving 10 years gap. So how many billionaires do we have between 30 to 40 years, and so on? To do this is very simple. We'll come to the column of their age now, right click on it, and go to group. We'll click on group, and you see the dialog box showing. We need to put in the starting age. I want to use the starting age at 30. So 30. And I want to use the ending age at 100. And I want it to go by interval of 10. So once you give these settings and you click OK, automatically the pivot table engine will create it for you. You can see 30 to 46, 40 to 50, 59, and so on. That is so amazing. That's as simple as that. So can you now see easily that from the analysis, you will notice that the highest millionaires fall within the age of 60 to 70, between the age of 60 to 70. And the lowest number of millionaires fall within the ages of 30 to 40. So if you want to see these millionaires that are within the ages of 30 to 40, you do what we call drilling down. That is double click on this. When you double click on the value, once you double click on the value, it will drill you down. You can see them. It will create a new sheet and display for you those set of people. Let me delete it. Let me go back here. Let's drill down to the 131 millionaires that fall within 60 to 70. I come to the value 131 and double click on it to drill it down, creating a new sheet. So if you want to know them, you can drill down and save the sheet if that is what you want. I want to delete it, and that is simply all. That's quite amazing. And I think with this, we may need to stop here for this class. In our next class, we will take up more activities on the pivot table, and that will help us a lot. So thank you for today's class, and I believe you gained some insights. I'd like you to take time to go through this lecture over and over, make your notes, and try to move around the more, explore more things. And in our next lecture, we're going to expand more on the pivot table and possibly expand it to data visualization. We will try to visualize the data that the pivot tables that we've created. Don't forget to hit the subscription button, comment, share, and if you want to get more of our videos and lectures, subscribe so that once we post the video, you'll get a notification for it. Thank you for being in this class today, and see you in our next class. Bye-bye for now.